Hello everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of the Sunday Night Victory. Last week we talked a bit about this thing, fear, right? And we talked about how fear is what's holding a ton of you guys back. And we talked about 3 specific sources of fear and kind of what you could do. And I mentioned last week that I was probably going to break each one of those down individually, and I'm gonna. Don't worry, I'm going to talk about those again because I know that some of you that have had that fear so far ingrained in you for so long didn't believe a word of what I said last week, and that's okay. All right? But I'm going to try to use a little illustration here about fear and about how second-guessing what you're deciding to do can make a huge difference in whether or not you're successful. And so some of you guys have probably heard this story and some of you guys probably haven't, but the story is about a Spanish conquistador, right? In like 1520. This is hundreds of years ago. And people and conquerors had been trying to take over Mexico. They knew there was treasure in Mexico. They would land at the Yucatan Peninsula. They would run inland. They would find these settlements and whatnot. They would try raiding them. And every single time, these armies would get chased back into the sea. And nobody was able to put a permanent foothold into Mexico. Until this Captain Cortez, right, 1519, Spanish conquistador, lands on the Yucatan Peninsula with about 600 guys. Knows full well that all these other armies and all these other conquerors have landed there and have not successfully been able to take over Mexico. And so rather than jumping right into battle, he parks his guys on the beach and he tries to motivate them. He tries to inspire them. He gives these huge boisterous speeches about how they're unbeatable. And then eventually, the legend has it that at one point he said, "Go burn the ships." And so they showed up on a dozen boats or so, right? And so the general, the boss of this army said, "Go burn the ships. Light them on fire. We are not leaving this beach. We are either going to succeed in this mission or we're going to die trying." And so a lot of people have heard that story, but I've been thinking about that quite a bit lately. And whenever we have an escape route, whenever we keep around a just-in-case plan, things never seem to go as well as they could, right? Maybe you got a job that's a dead end for you. You've been trying to get ahead in the company and it's just not going to work. Or you're just not fulfilled with what's going on day to day. But you've always got this, well, just in case, I better keep this job. I don't want to start something new because I got to make my bills, and just in case, I got sick, I have this job going. Everybody's got this just in case. Everybody's got this safety valve. Everybody's got this ship that they can get back on and sail back to Spain if something goes wrong, right? While they're trying to take over Mexico. And I'm here to tell you that if you want to make things happen, you've got to cut that cord. You've got to burn those ships. You need to find a way to put yourself in a spot where you don't have an escape route, where your ability to move forward depends on you being successful. Because mentally and subconsciously, if you've got an escape route, if you've got another option, if you've got a plan B, you're not going to work that hard on plan A. You're always going to fall back to plan B, or at least you're always going to feel like that's okay. And when you look to make a huge change in your world, you need some desperation. I'm downstairs right now and I'm watching the Players' Championship on TV. Last year in the Players' Championship, Ricky Fowler came, I don't know the exact stats, but he made like 6 birdies in the last 7 holes. Now, you think, why don't golfers do that all the time? Ricky Fowler was so desperate to try to win, he knew his only option was to fire at every flag. And he got lucky and he got those done. And so he shot a better score than anybody else because he decided plan B, laying up short and playing for pars, isn't going to happen. That's not going to get it done. And so he started firing at the flags. And so I want you guys to think about these things. I want you to think about the idea that if you're hanging on to something in your life, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's a bad business deal, if you're hanging on to something as a plan B, as a just in case, until you cut that cord, until you get rid of those things, then you will not be inspired and motivated and dedicated enough to get to that next level. So I want you guys to think that over a little bit. I want to make sure you don't picture this as burning bridges. There's a big difference between burning the ships so that you can't retreat and you can't run away, and burning bridges. I don't want you guys to tear down any relationships unless, you know, they're toxic relationships in the first place. So big difference between those two things. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that message this week. Listen, this is going to be the last week where I put the video in a newsletter. Instead, we're gonna just utilize YouTube. So go ahead and click the subscribe button on this YouTube video. You'll be notified every Sunday when I upload a new video. There are just too many difficulties with the platform that I'm using to send that newsletter and it getting pushed into folks' spam folders and whatnot. So we're just going to use YouTube. I'm still going to bring you guys the messages every week. Just click the subscribe button and we'll go from there. I hope to talk to you guys real soon.